creating a different future. Creating a different future. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if I had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. This wonderfully wry Robert Frost poem pokes fun at our casual consideration of the prospect of catastrophe. It's not difficult to imagine catastrophe in these days, what between tension in North Korea, extreme climate conditions, the specter of ecological collapse, and a U.S. government shutdown. No wonder our teens are rushing to bookstores and movie theaters, to Kindles and iPhones, to scare themselves with visions of dystopia. It's the opposite of utopia, for those of you unfamiliar with this word. Instead of a vision of an ideal community, dystopia is a vision of the worst world we can imagine. Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner, teens caught in terrible situations under the thumb of totalitarian rule. Most teens might regard their present home situation in similar terms, but you know what I'm driving at here. And such dark visions are not just for the young and aren't particularly new. They have been in our culture for quite a long time. How about Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, with its world state and emotionless people bred in huge vats so they will fit into rigidly defined social castes? Or George Orwell's 1984, where Big Brother is always watching you and the government controls us through newspeak, where words like liberty and concepts like individual expression are simply cut out of the language. Certainly, we've lived in a time of increased surveillance. We've heard the doublespeak that threatens to take our language. We've experienced the truthiness that threatens to take away the power of fact. And the stratification between rich and poor just keeps getting worse and worse. But in a recent article, Henry Farrell argues that we are not living in a brave new world, or in 1984, Huxley and Orwell's dark visions of our future have not come to pass, and certainly not in the way that they intended. Instead, he believes we are living into the nightmare of 60s, 70s, and 80s American science fiction author Philip K. Dick, best known for his short story, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?, for which the film version was given the more Hollywood-friendly name of Blade Runner. Philip K. Dick envisioned a future in which technology would develop in ways that made it increasingly difficult to distinguish human beings from artificial things. As he described his work, he wrote, "The two basic topics which fascinate me are what is reality and what constitutes an authentic human being." And these two topics blur and merge in his work. Dick believed that we all live in a world where spurious realities are manufactured by the media, by governments, by big corporations, by religious political groups, and the electronic hardware exists by which to deliver these pseudo-worlds right into the heads of the reader. He argued that the bombardment of pseudo-realities begins to produce inauthentic humans very quickly, spurious humans, as fake as the data pressing at them from all sides. In other words, fake news leads to fake people, and fake people seek out fake news. What do you think? Are we living in Philip K. Dick's dark vision? When you and I do a Google search, the results are prioritized on the basis of our pre-existing preferences. In other words, we don't search for truth anymore. We are given the soporific of the familiar and the comfortable. Our freedom of thought is being reduced to an algorithm. When we do want interaction, increasingly it's provided by a thing. One recent academic study found that between 9 and 15% of all Twitter accounts are likely fake. Twitter bots, which vary in sophistication from automated accounts that do no more than retweet what other bots have said, to sophisticated algorithms deploying so-called Sybil attacks, creating fake identities in peer-to-peer networks to invade specific organizations or degrade particular kinds of conversation. Here's a stunning example of that. When Ashley Madison, a dating site for people who wanted to cheat on their spouses, was recently hacked, it turned out that the vast majority of the women on the site were in fact fake fembots, programmed to send millions of chatty messages to live male customers so as to delude them into thinking they were surrounded by vast numbers of potential sexual partners. All this, of course, has political implications. As network television has given way to the internet, it's become easy for people to create their own reality. Sometimes this creates tragedy or near tragedy. For instance, the deluded gunman who stormed into Washington, D.C.'s Comet Ping Pong Pizzeria because he had been convinced by online conspiracy sites that the pizzeria was in fact the coordinating center for Hillary Clinton's child sex trafficking ring. One research project suggests that around 20% of the measurable political discussion around the last presidential election came from bots, and many of them Russian. On a more personal level, we don't deal with people anymore, not face to face. We text, we email, we message, we Snapchat, anything to avoid breathing the same air as another human being. Our checkout lines are automated. Our shopping is done alone and online. We stay away from movie theaters, concert hall, and churches in favor of live streaming, eliminating our social interaction, and reducing the big bad world to the size of a little handheld screen. Well, these are all probably familiar thoughts and facts to all of you, and I'd bet that you share my uneasiness over what we might be becoming. I'm sure you could offer more examples, personal, social, and political, that increase your sense of alarm about where we're headed. But the real tragedy of this is that we are doing it to ourselves. We choose how to use technology. We choose a commitment to truth or a commitment to comfort. We choose real, live human relationships or more predictable non-contact interaction, even if those interactions are only with things. We choose. This isn't about Big Brother or World State or Russia or the dark web. This is about us giving away our own humanity and denying it to each other. Philip K. Dick perhaps was right. The issue is personhood, authentic personhood. Depressed yet? Yeah. Of course, the temptation here is that we despair and we throw up our hands while asking, where will it all end? But if we bring John the Gospel writer into this, he'll remind you that you're asking the wrong question, the question about the end. We should be asking how, in light of all of this, you and I can come into deeper relationship with God through the risen Jesus. Because it seems to me personhood is the real issue Jesus is addressing in our gospel reading this morning. When he cleanses the temple by cleaning out the money lenders, the marketplace, when he upsets their table and chases them out with a whip, he is doing so to powerfully assert that people are not commodities. People are not things. He's declaring that the community formed by the temple is not an impersonal market. He's revealing that a worship-filled life is not an unjust, fake transaction between the powerfully connected and the spiritually dispossessed. Instead, he's declaring that people are precious. The temple community is personal. In fact, it's his personal body. And a worship-filled life is found in loving relationship. People are precious. Community is personal. Life is relationship. That's what Jesus is saying. People are precious. Community is personal. Life is relationship. My God, do we need to hear that right now? For that is how we can heal our dystopian world. It was my privilege to attend the kickoff on Tuesday night of the Dignity and Respect campaign here in Appleton. Appleton is the 101st city in our country to embrace this campaign, seeking to spread a new and inclusive spirit in our community. As they told us, every day we have the opportunity to test our commitment to dignity and respect through our behavior. There were about 100 of us gathered. It seemed like about a third of those present were from First Congo. How proud did that make me feel? The effort was spearheaded out of the mayor's office, our city's diversity and inclusion coordinator. On this church's behalf, I was invited to be one of the first 20 or so community leaders to sign the pledge, to promise to live out my own commitment to dignity and respect. You're going to be hearing more about this campaign, both from me and from other leaders in the community. You're going to be challenged to make your own pledge. For now, consider what a change it would make to live out such a commitment. Start with you. Self-awareness is the first step. Sweat the small stuff. Become mindful of how you respond to others and be responsible for your words and actions. Build cultural awareness. Treat others the way they want to be treated. Find common ground. Work through differences and gain agreement while maintaining dignity and respect. Join the team. Create interactions on teams that are respectful of individual differences. Build trust and limit bias. Lead the way. Make inclusion, dignity, and respect a part of your day-to-day practices, and do the right thing. Do your part to make your church, school, workplace, and community a better place for all to work, learn, live, and play. Those are the 7 pillars of respect and dignity. Doesn't sound all that complicated, does it, to you? But do you hear what a change that would make? Do you understand how choosing to act out of dignity and respect can heal us and undermine the falsity and impersonality that's seeking to dominate our culture right now? People are precious. Community is personal. Life is relationship. That's how Jesus put it. Dignity and respect. It's another way to say it. The forces of impersonality regarding people as things, these are not new, of course. And using dignity and respect as a powerful and effective tool to oppose them is not new either. Martin Luther King Jr., in his final speech in April of 1968, reflected back. I remember in Birmingham, Alabama, when we were in that majestic struggle there, Sheriff Bull Connor would tell them to turn the fire hoses on. But Bull Connor didn't know that there was a certain kind of fire that no water could put out. And we had known water. We were Baptist or some other denomination. We had been immersed. If we were Methodist or some others, we had been sprinkled, but we knew water. And we just go on singing, "Over my head I see freedom in the air." And then we would be thrown in jail, and we'd see the jailers looking through the windows and being moved by our prayers and being moved by our words and our songs. And there was a power there which Bull Connor could not adjust to. And so we ended up transforming Bull into a steer. and we won our struggle in Birmingham. We don't have to resign ourselves to a dark future, an impersonal destiny of fake reality and inauthentic people. We can choose differently. Beginning with ourselves, we can choose against isolation and alienation. We can choose against being mere consumers and treating people like commodities. We can choose as Jesus Christ chose, for dignity and respect, remembering that people are precious. Community is personal. Life is relationship. That kind of choice, that kind of life, that kind of living will create a new life for us and a new future for us all. Amen.